Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Volume 3 of I Hate Fairyland, continuing on Gertrude's adventures to try and get home. In this volume, Gertrude's scheme is that she will try and be good. And maybe by being good, karma, or Carmen, as Gertrude refers to it as, will work out in her favor and bring her home. So let's dive into this volume and see Gertrude's further adventures and see if her going good is her key to getting home. I Hate Fairyland, Volume 3, Good Girl, written and drawn by Skottie Young, colors by Francois Beaulieu. Issue 11. Last volume ended with this whole Gertrude post-apocalyptic storyline with time travel and Fairyland being destroyed. But as we continue in this volume, the status quo of Fairyland has been set back to normal, and the whole post-apocalyptic storyline will be ignored. I guess we can assume that Gertrude survived and avoided destroying Fairyland and triggering the apocalypse, but she still did not succeed in getting home. When issue 11 picks up, Gertrude and Larry are at some sort of comic book type convention within Fairyland. Gertrude is really excited to see this one person here named Gwag the Barbarian. Normally Gertrude kind of hates everything, but she is really into Gwag. She tells Larry, "Oh man, I'm gonna be meeting Gwag, Barbarian of the Barbarians, the scourge of all 432 realms, and the harbinger of pants peeing to anyone who's unfortunate enough to gaze upon her blade when it's in the grip of her perfectly sculpted death dealer hands." Gertrude excitedly walks through the convention hall, and she sees the many different booths set up. Larry is unimpressed, commenting that it smells like armpits in here. Gertrude makes her way past various booths, until eventually she arrives at the line to meet Gwag the Barbarian, and the line is ridiculously long. After waiting in line for a while, Gertrude starts losing it. She asks Larry, "I can't take this much longer. How long have we been in this line?" Larry tells her, 3 minutes. Gertrude continues complaining, "That's far too long, Larry. Empires have been built and destroyed in less time." Larry tells her that that's about as untrue a thing as you've ever said. Well, Gertrude tosses some bombs and brutally kills some of the people in line ahead of her, and then, before you know it, she is first in line. Gwag's handlers tell Gertrude, "Come on, kid, we ain't got all day." Gertrude moseys up to the line and tells Gwag, "I can't believe I'm finally meeting you. You're my hero. I love the story of you taking King Loopy's heart out through his mouth back in the Battle of Spiffy's Spiral, and the murderous tale of you maiming the maidens of the Maple Sea, and the brutal legend of the Bloody Birthday." Gwag, not giving a shit, says, "Whatever, kid." Gertrude tells Gwag, "Actually, I know you'll get a kick out of this. I know I look like a kid, but I'm actually in my 30s. Gwag's handlers start dragging Gertrude away. They do give her a hand-signed photograph of Gwag, and they tell her that that'll be $200 now. Will she be paying cash or card? Gertrude, looking at the picture that is supposedly signed by Gwag, is angry. She says, "But she didn't sign this." Gwag's handler tells Gertrude, "Of course she did." Gertrude responds, "I watched you stamp it, just like you're stamping those right now in front of me." Gertrude, she tries to rush past the handlers, and she grabs onto Gwag and tells her, "I've been following you since your early years, and I've earned a few minutes of one-on-one time. I think you'd see that we're really made for each other, and I could, I don't know, be your partner, and we could pillage and plunder and all the other P-words that you think would really fit. I'm not picky." Gwag's handlers begin dragging Gertrude away, but then she chops off their tongues and heads back over to Gwag. At that point, Gwag gets angry. She grabs Gertrude and squeezes her throat and tosses Gertrude high into the air, way across the room. When Gertrude eventually finds Larry, Larry knows that it did not go well. And Gertrude is upset that Gwag would treat her like this, She's Gwag's biggest fan. As Gertrude is complaining, all of a sudden at this convention, she sees a girl there that is cosplaying as her. Gertrude is at first angry and weirded out by it, but eventually the cosplayer introduces herself. Her name is Maddie, and she tells Gertrude, "You are so awesome! You were my absolute hero! The way you blew the brains out of Mr. Mooney and cut the head off Brood the Brutal when Queen Claudia, R.I.P., sent him to assassinate you? And the fact that you hollowed out the chest of nearly every giggle giant in Fairyland, all because you thought your key was inside one of them? You are the most bad sass muffin hugger in all the worlds, and I want to be just like you. It would be a dream come true for me if you'd let me follow you. I would love to help the great Gertrude the Gruesome on her quest." Larry is rolling his eyes as he hears this. He says to himself, "Fluff me. She gave her a descriptor. I'm never going to hear the end of that." Larry begins telling Maddie that she seems like an enthusiastic girl, but Gert's more of a loner, and this isn't really going to work out. But Gertrude, seemingly high on someone being a huge fan of hers, decides, nonsense. Gwag the head back there didn't appreciate admiration from a strong, independent woman, but I do, because I'm better than her. Because my brain is filled with more stuff that makes it know more than the stuff that makes her brain know. Gertrude offers Maddie the chance to be her protege, and Maddie agrees. At first, Gertrude loves having this Maddie girl be impressed by everything she's doing. She takes Maddie for drinks, she kills a monster in front of Maddie, and they drink the monster's blood. As the weeks go on, though, and Gertrude continues training Maddie in her ways, eventually Gertrude grows annoyed with Maddie. Maddie just won't shut up. She's talking all the time, blah 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 blah, when Gertrude's trying to sleep at night. Also, Gertrude grows annoyed because Maddie's actually pretty good at being Gertrude. Maddie's good at killing monsters, and one night at a bar, Maddie made good friends with Gwag the Barbarian and they were sharing drinks, all while Gertrude was kind of excluded. After leaving the bar that night, Maddie was pretty drunk and Gertrude was pretty annoyed. As Maddie was frolicking about, Gertrude is talking to Larry and she says to him, "She's the fluffin' worst. Have you ever seen someone so obnoxiously annoying and violent before?" Larry tells Gertrude, "Oh no, I've never seen anyone like the person you've just described. No one at all. I'm definitely not looking directly at a person that's anything like you described." Gertrude responds to Larry, "Are you saying that I'm annoyed with her because she's basically me? And I'm getting to witness just how terrible a person I've become over the years? That in some twisted way, she's acting as a mirror to show me that I'm really just an unhinged maniac with no grasp on basic human emotions and lack of the understanding to relate to the normal world in any way? Is that what you're telling me?" Larry responds, "Yeah, pretty much." Gertrude, almost having a realization of the bad human she is, thinks about it and wonders, I wonder if I'm not getting what I want because I'm such a piece of evil flip, right? Like, maybe it's Carmen or something. Larry sarcastically replies, "Yeah, Carmen. That's the word you were looking for." Gertrude was trying to refer to karma. She says, "Well, that's it then. I'm going to turn my life around, and I need to figure out a way to be better, to be good." Maddie, who was still a little drunk, overheard what Gertrude was saying, and she tells Gertrude, "If you want to be good, Gertrude, then be good." Gertrude hugs Maddie and tells her, "Thank you. That was super helpful. I'm going to do exactly that. I'm choosing to be good. From now on, I'm done with murdering and killing and all the other things that make me not good. I'm going to turn all this around, and it's all because of you. I'm so glad you came into my life. Unfortunately, now I'm going to have to ask you to leave it." Gertrude grabs Maddie and throws her off the cliff to her death. As Larry and Gertrude walk on, Larry asks, "What about all that I'm going to be good and turn this all around stuff you just said?" Gertrude answers, "Oh, it's starting now. That didn't count. How was I supposed to learn how to be good with that annoying hugger puffer running her gobstopper at all hours of the night?" Larry replies, Fair enough. And the two of them walk on to their next adventure, on their quest for Gertrude to be good, which she can then hopefully turn into a way for her to get home. Issue 12. Lone Gert and Grub. In Gertrude's quest to now be good, her first act on this path to redemption is reuniting a mother with her long-lost child, which was taken from her. According to Gertrude's sources, she has tracked the child down to this town. Gertrude, dressed as a samurai, is jumping from building to building. She then stealthily enters through the window of a building. As she journeys inside, she eventually finds the baby that she was looking for. She picks up the baby triumphantly and is ready to return it to its mother. Before she can leave, though, a small little mushroom child catches Gertrude in the act of stealing the baby. The little mushroom child tells Gertrude, "You're not supposed to be here. Papa's gonna be real mad when he finds out you're here." Gertrude, with her sword, tells the kid, "Oh yeah? Well, what if there's no one around to tell him they saw us here?" The kid, not understanding Gertrude's threat, tells her, "Oh, I'll be around to tell him." Gertrude, annoyed, replies, "What? No, you didn't get what I was saying. I mean, if I used my sweet ninja moves on you, then no one would be here to tell him we're here." The kid, still not understanding, replies, "I'd tell him." Gertrude, drawing her sword, is ready to slice this kid in half. But Larry stops her and tells Gertrude, "Gert, no, remember why you're doing this." Gertrude stops herself and says, "Yeah, you're right." Gertrude takes off. She tries to leave the town before anyone spots her, but the kid did end up telling his dad, and then his dad found some reinforcements, and now the entire town is standing in Gertrude's way, readying to fight her. One of the adult mushroom samurais in the town asks Gertrude, "Who dares enter the city of Skottie?" Gertrude answers, "My name is Gertrude, and I'm a brave hero that has been asked to bring this innocent babe back to its family, which you tore it from." The mushroom samurai replied to Gertrude, "You know not of what you speak. You are meddling in ancient affairs that have been in motion since long before you were here, and will continue long after you're gone. Brave hero, the child belongs here. The hour is late, and I have grown weary of you. Hand over the grubling and die quickly, or fight and die probably just as quickly." Gertrude tells the mushroom, "I have made a vow to live my life with honor and purity, so I cannot do harm to others unless they first do harm unto me." The samurai mushroom responds, "Very well. Shiitake, do harm unto her and get that grub." The shiitake mushrooms throw ninja stars at Gertrude, and they pierce her face, and it hurts like hell. Gertrude, after being assaulted with the ninja stars, says, "That's more harm onto me than I really wanted, but it checks the box. Now I'm gonna get nasty with this sword." The mushroom is weirded out by this and asks, "You're gonna do what to the sword?" Gertrude responds, "No, I mean, I'm gonna take the long sword here and do really nasty things to you with it." The mushroom, still thinking that Gertrude is talking about sexual stuff with a sword, says, "That's a little inappropriate to discuss in front of the child, don't you think?" Gertrude to this says, "Listen, what I'm saying is, I'm gonna stick my sword inside of you and make you scream for your mommy." The samurai mushroom, still confused, says to Gertrude, "What you do in the privacy of your own home is none of my concern. I wouldn't dare to judge you, but please feel free to not share your intimate proclivities with me." Gertrude, now growing really annoyed, says, "You're driving me really crazy. I'm gonna give it to you and give it to you good." Samurai mushroom responds, "Nope, I'm still very uncomfortable with what you're saying to me." Gertrude, trying to be really clear, says, "Fine, I'm gonna kill you all, okay?" The samurai mushroom answers, "Ah, okay, I understand now." Both sides start charging towards one another with their swords drawn. 2 hours later, Gertrude manages to slice through almost all of the shiitake mushroom soldiers. Except there is one really jacked mushroom left. He tells Gertrude, "You have killed nearly all of the shiitake's fierce warriors. I'm going to make you pay for every single soul that you took here today." The big mushroom guy jumps high in the sky and he is barreling down on Gertrude. But Gertrude, she just throws her samurai sword and it plows right through the mushroom guy's head and he dies and goes down. In the aftermath, Gertrude has successfully killed all of the shiitake mushroom forces. Their leader is still left though. He tells Gertrude that he has shamed his people and led them to their graves, and that she must allow him now to die with honor and join them in the mushroom fields of their ancestors. The mushroom samurai wants Gertrude to kill him in battle so that he may die with honor, but Gertrude instead tells him, "Nope, sorry guy, I'm going good. I defended myself from your clan and that's it. You'll have to deal with all of that shame and honor stuff on your own." A few days later, Gertrude, Larry, and this baby that she supposedly saved from this village, they arrive back at the baby's mother, and when Gertrude returns the baby to the mother seems to be ecstatic. She tells Gertrude, "Thank you, dear Gertrude. You have returned my bundle of joy just in time. The last days of inner solstice have arrived, and without my nourishment of my little grub, I'm afraid I wouldn't have lasted much longer." Gertrude at first is satisfied with herself, and she says, "It was my pleasure. I'm just glad I could reunite a mother with her..." Wait a second, what were you saying? Food? The mother then savagely eats her child, slurping it down really disgusting like. Larry, taking this all in, says to Gertrude, So the shiitake were actually saving the baby from its fate here with its mother. Who knew?" Gertrude responds, "The shiitake kinda knew." Larry says, "True." As the mother is eating her child, some of the goop from the baby splatters Gertrude in her face. Gertrude to this comments, "I really hate Fairyland." Larry, where do you think this puts me on the good scale? Larry answers, "Not high." As Gertrude and Larry walk on to their next adventure, Gertrude comments, I didn't know she was gonna eat the fluffin' thing. That's gotta count for something, right?" Larry tells Gertrude, "Sure, whatever helps you sleep at night." Issue 13, Larry's Life. Gertrude is still on a quest to try and be good, although she is continuing to fail spectacularly. Her and Larry just left a town and it is now on fire. Gertrude tells Larry, "Hey, I was just trying to help them. It's not my fault they didn't tell me their town would catch on fire so easily." Larry responds, "It was a scarecrow town. It was completely made of straw." Gertrude asks, "And what does that have to do with everything being flammable?" Larry answers, "Everything, literally everything." Gertrude asks, "So where is she on this whole doing good thing after this most recent puff up?" Larry, after tabulating, says, "So far we're at exactly no good whatsoever." Larry does have an idea they could perhaps pursue though. He says, "There's this creepy guy who runs a labyrinth on the outer fringes of Fairyland. I hear he strikes some interesting deals if you beat his maze. You never know, this could be a thing." Gertrude thinks this is perhaps a good idea, but she's annoyed. She accuses Larry of holding out on her, keeping this secret from her. As they continue on their travels, Gertrude just keeps railing into Larry about how annoyed she is with him. She says, "You're keeping secrets from me? This is how you repay me after all I've done for you over these last 3 decades? You keep important information to yourself? I've done nothing but give you purpose in this god-forsaken place, and all I get from you is moping around and complaining and now secret-keeping. You think you're so special, don't you, Larry? Well, imagine your life if you never met me, and then we'll see how special you'd be. Seriously, blah 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 blah." As Gertrude is going on, Larry falls asleep. But the last thing Gertrude said, what would Larry's life be like if he never met her? Well, through Larry's dream, we will see, indeed, what his life would have been like. Larry's life will be illustrated by guest artist Dean Rankine. As our flashback into Larry's life begins, we see a household that seems like it is the Simpsons' living room. Larry, as a baby fly, is just watching television very quietly, but the rest of his brothers and sisters are all making a racket. Larry seems to be the only good-behaved child in his entire family. The rest of his brothers and sisters then start beating each other and whacking each other and kind of killing each other. All the while, Larry played with his Rubik's Cube and then eventually did his homework. And Larry was the only one in his family that graduated from high school. Larry told his dad that he wanted to go to university in hopes of joining the Guild of Guides after he graduated. The guides are the ones that lead people like Gertrude when they come to visit Fairyland. His dad told him, "That's a job for a cricket, boy. That's not what we are. We're flies, and flies work." Larry's dad brought him into the dung mines, where him and the other flies would sift through ogres' shit looking for treasure. Larry's dad told Larry, "You're a Wentworth, and you'll work the hills as long as I'm alive." Immediately after he said that, though, Larry's dad got a heart attack and died. A funeral was held for Larry's dad. Larry, he was going to continue working in the dung mines, but his mom told him that she wanted a better life for him, and that his father worked very hard to support all of the children and saved every coin he ever earned. But since Larry is the last child left alive, it all goes to him. So this means Larry can finally afford to go to FU, Fairyland University, which is a bit that it sounds like FU. Larry was very studious at school. He didn't really party that much, and he managed to graduate top of his class. He could then join the Guild of Guides, where he may welcome many a guest through the world of Fairyland and back to their own world again. We now see Larry's first day of work at the Guild of Guides. Larry's boss came out smoking a cigar, and he told the crowd, "All right, everyone, let's settle down. Today's a busy day, and we have to break a newbie in." His boss then read through Larry's file and said, "Says here, Labyrinth Wentworth is just about the smartest living organism to ever grace the lands of fairy. Well, we're dang glad to have you with us. Much better than losing you to those narrators. So, without further ado, let's bring out the big boss and see who she has in store for our rookie's first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, Queen Claudia." As Queen Claudia comes out, she is about to inform Larry that his first guest will be Gertrude. That is what actually happened in Larry's life, but this is an alternate tale of what Larry's life would have been like if he didn't ever meet Gertrude. Queen Claudia was about to tell Larry that his first guest was going to be Gertrude, but then Sir Nimbus told Queen Claudia something in her ear, and then she had to excuse herself and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, there's been an itsy bit of a hiccup with the floor portal we were trying out. Just a tiny case of dismemberment. Not to worry, dear Laragon, we have another perfect candidate lined up for you." So with Gertrude decapitated, Larry instead got Happy as his first guest in Fairyland. And Larry's guiding of Happy was an astounding success. He managed to guide her through Fairyland in record time, and she found the key and went home without any issues. As Happy was leaving, she hugged Larry and told him, "Oh, Laragon, I love you dearly. I wish you could come home with me and be my bestest bestie in the whole widest world." Larry had a tear of joy in his eyes. After that, Larry guided many more children through Fairyland, and he had a very successful career. But he almost had too much success, and it went to his head. As Larry got older, he even achieved a celebrity status, but it didn't make him happy, it just made him bitter and angry. He was a guest on a TV show in Fairyland called The Elfin Show. Elfin asked Larry, "Everyone knows of your many accomplishments by now, defeating 6 of the 7 Doomity Dooms, discovering new planets, and of course guiding countless children through Fairyland. Does it ever feel like there's anything you can't do?" And Larry, seeming drunk, he burped, and then he answered, "It's the media. How many have I guided? Picasso is dead. The Rabbit. Steve Hops is dead. Walt Disney is dead. Who can you name in the same ogre's breath that isn't even a blip in the existence of the universe, huh? Huh?" When Larry went home, he watched the news media's reaction to his unhinged appearance on TV. The reaction was not good. The news also reported on a supposed dick pic that Larry sent Queen Claudia herself. This was also not good. Larry ended up being fired, and he lost all of his sweet endorsement deals. Eventually, he lost his fancy house with all of his fancy things, and he was living on the street. And then he turned to drugs. And then he was going to commit suicide. As Larry holds a gun to his head, he says to himself, "Goodbye, cruel world." And just as he's going to pull the trigger, he hears, "Larry! Larry!" Larry then wakes up from his dream. It is Gertrude. Gertrude asks Larry, "Larry, have you not been listening to anything I've said? You really are a world-class sasshole, Larry. I was talking about how terrible your life would be if you've never met me." Larry tells Gertrude, "Yeah, you're probably right." Gertrude and Larry then travel on. Issue 14, Love's Labyrinth. Gertrude and Larry arrive at the creepy guy who runs the labyrinth on the outer fringes of Fairyland, who supposedly will strike a deal with you if you beat his maze. His labyrinth maze here in the middle of nowhere looks massive. Eventually, the creepy owner of this maze reveals himself. He introduces himself as such. "I wasn't expecting any visitors today. Who, may I ask, is this beauty blessing loveth Lovelord with her presence?" Loveth Lovelord seems to have some sort of gold package in front of where his groin is. Gertrude is staring at this odd man, and Loveth Lovelord stares back at her, and then he winks. And this really creeps Gertrude out. She's looking at his groin area with the gold package in front of it and asks, "Good gob, man, what the fluff is going on with your situation there?" Loveth Lovelord says, "I'm glad you asked. You see," Gertrude cuts him off and says, Nope. "I'm sorry I asked. Please do not tell me about any of that completely offensive business that you got going on in your man area." Loveth Lovelord asks, "What brings your emerald locks to my front door?" Gertrude replies, "Well, could you move back a bit? It's very distracting and gross." "Well, I'm on a mission to do a little cleanup on my image. I'm trying to be, good and stuff. Not a little evil piece of slip that kills everything in front of her the minute she feels a drop in her blood sugar, so, good." Loveth Lovelord has just the thing for Gertrude. He says, "Well, then you would enjoy getting your hands on these. They are the Bowls of Redemption." Gertrude thinks that's really a creepy name. Loveth Lovelord continues, "Why, you are a firecracker, aren't you? Whoever possesses these will be redeemed of all their doings of wrong and see the beauty of their inner innocence." Gertrude, she's interested, but she asks, "So, what's the rub? What's the deal? You magic-y types always have a riddle or a race or something." Loveth Lovelord says, "A puzzle, or more accurately, my labyrinth. All you have to do is find your way to the center of the labyrinth by the next lover's moon, and you get the redemption you seek. If you succeed, I give you my balls of redemption. However, if you don't make it, you will marry me." Gertrude doesn't like the sound of that. She says, "Wait, what? No fluffing way." Loveth Lovelord tells her, "Oh, I'm sorry, Gertrude, but unfortunately, when you kindly held my hand in yours, You sealed the deal. Good luck. Loveth Lovelord then vanishes, and now Gertrude has to solve this labyrinth and get through it in time. Gertrude and Larry head into the labyrinth. Gertrude asks Larry, what the spell is up with these magic fairyland creepsters always wanting to hook up with or marry young girls? Larry responds, you realize you're probably older than him, right? Gertrude answers, he doesn't know that. And I'm not old, I'm experienced. Larry quips, true, you are experienced at being old. They argue and bicker some more and start making their way through this maze. Later on, they run into a man in the maze. His name is Booger Boggins, and he just so happens to be selling a map to the center of the maze. Gertrude and Larry are interested in purchasing one of these maps, although they're a little skeptical if it will actually do the trick for them. Booger Boggins puts them at ease, saying, I've lived here my whole life and walked every inch of this place forwards and back. It's my life's work. I guarantee it will get you to the middle of the maze. However, while it will show you the exact way to the center, it cannot help you defeat the beast that awaits you when you arrive. Gertrude asks, what kind of beast? Booger Boggins answers, the fiercest of all dragons, Dragoon the Devourer. Gertrude replies, I feel like you just said dragon, but with extra vowels. Booger Boggins answers, it does sound like that way, yes, but make no mistake, he is what nightmares have nightmares about. No quester has survived a meeting with Dragoon. Gertrude tells Boggins, dragons don't faze me no matter how many useless letters are in their name. Now, let's talk price. How much for one of these maps? Booger Boggins tells Gertrude, No. I cannot accept any money from you. Instead, I will give you a map, and in return, you will marry me. Gertrude smacks her head and replies, Fluff my life, really? Loveth Lovelord at his castle seems to be able to perceive what is going on in the labyrinth. When he sees this Booger Boggins offer a map, he is not happy about it. Loveth asks one of his assistants, I thought you suspended Booger's selling permit. The assistant explains, yeah, for a year, but that was up yesterday and I reinstated him. Loveth is annoyed and tells his assistant, I'll deal with you later. Right now, we need to handle this little troll before my future wife becomes his future wife. Gertrude tells Booger, fine, deal. Larry takes Gertrude aside and asks her, really, you're gonna marry him? You already have one marriage deal on the table. Gertrude explains her logic. She says, I figure why not? If I don't make it, then his map is bogus, and I have to marry that dirty Loveth Lovelord guy. But if the map works, then I just have to marry Booger Boggins over here, and I get the balls of redemption, and I'll be on my way shortly home after. At least with Creepy's deal here, I have the chance for a positive outcome. Larry thinks, you know what, this actually makes sense. Carry on. Booger Boggins gives Gertrude the map, and he says he looks forward to a long life with her. Now, somehow, Loveth Lovelord, from his castle, as he is surveying the maze, is able to interact with the maze, and he uses a ball and chain and smashes Booger Boggins with it, killing him. Gertrude, when she sees Booger Boggins die gorily, says, upside. One less potential husband. She retrieves the map. It is covered in blood and is a little bit unreadable, but it might be enough to do the trick. Further on in the maze, Gertrude runs into some sort of flame guy, and he also wants Gertrude to marry him, and in exchange he will take her to the center of this labyrinth. But Loveth Lovelord pours some water on the maze and manages to extinguish this flame guy. Gertrude walks on. She then meets a little snail dude. He also offers to help her to the center of the maze if she'll agree to marry him. Loveth Lovelord pours some salt in the maze and manages to dry out the snail, killing him. As Gertrude keeps walking through the maze, she has about 8 more marriage proposals from various creepy people inside the maze. As Gertrude and Larry continue traveling through the maze, They are worrying that they're not going to make it there in time. But somehow, they randomly manage to wander into the center of the maze. Gertrude is so close to the balls of redemption. Loveth Lovelord then appears in a poof of smoke right beside Gertrude. Loveth tells Gertrude, "I have to say I didn't think you would make it this far, and to think you were this close to obtaining the balls of redemption. Unfortunately, to complete your challenge, you..." Gertrude cuts him off and says, "What, have to fight your dragon? Yeah, I know all about your big bad evil dragon. One of the many idiots you have living in this twisted marriage maze told me all about it." Loveth tells Gertrude, "Regardless of your arrogance, my beast will keep you from your precious redemption, and you will become my bride. Dragoon, make her beg for mercy." All of a sudden, a poof of pink smoke appears in the maze, and a dragon arrives. Only, it is not Dragoon, it is Duncan Dragon. Duncan Dragon tells Loveth Lovelord, "Sorry, sir. Dragoon asked me if I could take his Tuesday shift, and he'd take my Saturday, so you got me today." Loveth Lovelord is not pleased, and Gertrude begins laughing hysterically. "Duncan Dragon is your deadly beast?" Loveth asks Duncan, "Why did Dragoon need to swap days?" Duncan answers he said something about his sister's baby shower. Well, Loveth tells Duncan he has to attack Gertrude. It's up to him then. Gertrude says that Duncan can't even fly, although Duncan starts to levitate a bit. Gertrude takes this new information in and says, "Okay, fine, I guess there's some enchantment on his dirty pajamas and he can fly now. Call me when he can blow fire." Duncan, he then manages to blow some fire, although Duncan misses Gertrude and ends up hitting Larry a bit. Gertrude, she then punches Duncan square in the face and he goes down. Duncan may have some magical enchantments now, but he's still not much of a fighter. Gertrude tells Loveth Lovelord, "There, you happy now? I solved the labyrinth and beat your beast. Looks like I got you by your balls." Gertrude touches the balls of redemption. She says, nothing's happening. Do these even work?" All of a sudden, though, a bright light emanates from the balls, and Gertrude becomes good Gertrude. You can tell by her big, happy-looking eyes. I Hate Fairyland Issue 15. The conclusion of Good Girl. After the balls of redemption have cleansed Gertrude and made her good, she is now really gung-ho about trying to get home. Gertrude is approaching a castle that is home to a king. Guards atop the castle see Gertrude coming, and they are very fearful. As usually wherever Gertrude goes, she brings destruction. The guards go and wake up the king. The king puts on his armor and gets his men ready to defend. Gertrude walks over and parleys with the king, although this is not the same asshole Gertrude that we are used to. This Gertrude is nice. Gertrude says to the king, "Hello, Mr. King. It's very nice to see you and your very brave-looking army today." The king is confused. He asks Gertrude, "I don't understand. You are the Gertrude of legend, yes? Have you not come here to slay us all in your never-ending quest to find the way back to your world?" Gertrude replies, "Oh yes, sir. I'm Gertrude, and I'm trying to get back home, but I haven't come to bring you or your people harm, silly." The king asks, "But you wield Valofax, the sword that ended the entire worlds with one swing." Gertrude explains, "Yeah, I won this in a game of Galaxy Golf years ago. Larry said you might have the scroll of Pufflehop, and I'd wondered if you'd be willing to trade that for this." The king is a little confused. The scroll of Pufflehop, isn't that just a recipe for soup? Gertrude answers, "Yep." Well, the king thinks, you know what? Deal. You'll take this badass sword for some soup. All in all, it was a good interaction. As Gertrude prances away happily, the king says, "Thank you, dear Gertrude. Good luck on your quest. May the scroll of Pufflehop bring you good fortune." So Gertrude, now good, is continuing to go on these various quests she need to maybe eventually get her home. She gives the soup recipe to a chef, and the chef gives her the morning cake. And then she takes the morning cake to the woods beyond the borders of Bakersville, and she gives it to those who seek it there. With Gertrude being all good, Larry is actually a little bit annoyed at Gertrude's new happy-go-lucky attitude. Gertrude comments to Larry, "Chief Wiggletail was a real delight, wasn't he?" Larry answers, "Yeah, pure joy. Hey, what say we take a bit of grub over at this pastry pub and wash it down with some Wisher's ale?" Gertrude tells Larry, "Larry, don't be silly. We can't eat any of this cake ourselves. It's for the woolly witch, so she'll give us the toothing root." Larry tries to entice Gertrude by offering some other drinking options. How about some demon dank? Gertrude answers, "Larry, I tell you again, I don't drink. Anyway, we're making great time. If we keep this pace, I could be home by tomorrow evening." Horabella, the witch, witnesses Gertrude pass on the opportunity to drink some demon dank? This is very strange indeed. Horabella goes and makes a call to a mysterious person. Horabella tells this mysterious person, "I saw an old friend of yours today and you won't believe it, but I think Gertrude's gonna make it home this time." The mysterious person on the other side of the call replies, "What? No, no." Horabella continues, "I assumed that would make you quite unhappy, so I have a proposal. There's something you have that I want." The mysterious person answers, "Whatever it is, it's yours, but I don't care how well Gertrude's journey goes. She must not make it home." Happy Gertrude continues on her various adventures. She collects the various things she needs to give to other people and then collects more things, and eventually she ends up finding the key she needs to open the door to go home. Meanwhile, back over to Horabella. She has collected a team of people. She tells the group, "I've gathered you, Fairyland's most notorious assassins, for one reason and one reason only: to kill Gertrude before she makes it out of our lands." The various assassins all hate Gertrude for their own reasons. One of them says, "She took my eye and ate it in front of me. I will be happy to take one of hers so she can watch while I end her." Another assassin says, "I don't think so. She convinced all 34 of my wives to leave me and take my treasure when they left. I will be the one to end her life." They all start arguing. Horabella yells for them all to shut up. She says, "Listen up and get this through your thick skulls. If Gertrude dies, y'all get paid. No matter if she dies by one or all of your hands, everyone benefits equally. So no fighting with each other. It's simple. Dead Gertrude, get money. Living Gertrude, well, you'll have to answer to someone much, much worse than me. Now go!" In the main square in Fairyland, we see the new king of Fairyland that took over the job as ruler when Gertrude was fired. This king has pink hair and he has an ice cream cone as a hat. He tells those in the town square that Gertrude has finally found the key and she will finally be returning to her home. And she will be leaving them forever. At that moment, happy Gertrude comes skipping into the town. Gertrude is singing, "I'm going home, I'm going home, I'm going home." Larry tells Gertrude something doesn't feel right about this. Gertrude tells Larry, "Oh, Laragon, don't be such a downy downer. We're both getting what we want today. I'll be going home and you'll be rid of me." As Gertrude is approaching the magic door she needs to go through to go home, Horabella's crew of assassins are on the scene, and they tell Gertrude, "You won't be making it home today." Gertrude, looking at the angry assassins, tells them, "Hello there. You all look very strong and powerful, and I'm so flattered that you're making such a fuss over little old me. I'm sure you have good reasons, but you all can be happy knowing that I'm good now, so there's no longer any reason to be cross with me. Let's say we all be super duper Fairyland friends." The crew of assassins fire arrows into the sky and they throw their swords as well, and all of the weapons are coming down to stab through Gertrude. However, all of the weapons somehow miss Gertrude and land beside her. Gertrude comments, "Well, that was a close one. Oh, look, they gave me a lollipop. That was so nice of you, thank you." Gertrude, miraculously still alive, picks up the lollipop and puts it in her mouth. And then she continues skipping over to the door she needs to go through to get home. And as she is skipping, though, she accidentally trips on a rock and she lands in such a way that the lollipop that was in her mouth somehow stabs her through her mouth and out the back of her head and through her brain. And Gertrude is now dead. The townspeople are all shocked, but eventually they move on. Gertrude's body is cleaned up, and Larry, who is actually kind of sad at Gertrude's passing, he's talking to a janitor and he asks, "I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do now. She was my person." The janitor tells Larry, "Sorry, buddy. It sucks. Hey, maybe she's in a better place now, you know?" Larry, thinking on it, responds, "Yeah, maybe, but knowing Gert, probably not." Gertrude, now dead, falls into blackness and then she lands on the ground. Gertrude dusts herself off and then she says, "Muffin Puffer, where the fluff am I? And why am I not all cute and perfect and good anymore?" An ominous voice replies, "I can't answer that question about all the cute stuff, but as to where the fluff you are, that's an easy one. Welcome to hell." And there we see Happy, the little girl that Gertrude killed in Volume 1. She has an eye patch on now, and she looks very menacingly evil. And with this, we end Volume 3 of I Hate Fairyland. Alright everyone, that was I Hate Fairyland Volume 3. Let me go through my thoughts on this one. I thought Volume 3 was not as good as Volume 1, but better than Volume 2. I liked some of the issues in this one, and I thought it was really funny. So let me go through the various issues in this volume. So the first issue was the comic convention kind of storyline, where Gertrude really is a big fan of this Gwag the Barbarian. She's obsessed with her. That was funny. And then this Maddie girl is a big fan of Gertrude, and then Gertrude kind of embraces this Maddie, takes her under her wing, and there was some good humor there. But of course, Gertrude gets annoyed by Maddie and ends up killing her at the end of that issue. But it sets Gertrude on this path now where she wants to be good. And her first attempt at being good is followed through in the next issue, which is the Samurai Mushroom issue, which I thought was very funny, maybe my favorite issue in this volume. Some of the interactions between Gertrude and this Samurai Mushroom guy were really funny. Gertrude saying she wants to stab him with the sword and do nasty things to him, and he takes it as a weird sexual thing, and there's lots of confusion there. I don't know. I thought it was funny, and we had the twist at the end of that story where the baby that Gertrude saved ends up being eaten by its mother. So Gertrude was actually bringing the baby to its death. That's funny stuff. We had the Larry's Life issue. I thought it was really fun seeing what Larry's life would have been like if he never guided Gertrude. And I think it was interesting, the plot trajectory his life took, how he became really full of himself, and he kind of had a really dark ending where he was kind of canceled and he became a homeless guy and was going to shoot his brains out. So a really dark twist of events there on Larry's life. But yeah, humorous stuff. I liked seeing his family life where he grew up with all of these flies and his dad works the dung mines. So all that was humorous stuff. Now, I did notice a plot hole in this issue, okay? So, in Larry's life, it was established that Larry was supposed to guide Gertrude, but in this alternate series of events, Gertrude got decapitated, and he could not guide Gertrude, so instead, the first guest he guided in Fairyland was Happy. However, in the first volume, he was guiding Gertrude for 30 years, and then Happy was brought to Fairyland. So he couldn't have just been handed Happy as his assignment immediately after he was supposed to guide Gertrude, because Happy wouldn't have even been born yet. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, that's a plot hole, man. It couldn't have been Happy as the next guest he was going to guide. It doesn't matter, though. It's just silly. Okay. Next issue was the marriage maze issue, which I thought it was funny. This guy with the bowls of redemption and this crazy maze where everybody wants to marry Gertrude for some reason, and then Duncan Dragon comes back into the story and Gertrude wins these balls. So humorous stuff there. And the final issue where Gertrude finally goes good, and she is over the top good, I thought was really funny. And Larry's actually getting kind of annoyed by it, so that was humorous too. And then Gertrude seems like she's finally gonna get to go home, but then she dies and she goes to hell, and Happy's back in the story, and we have a huge cliffhanger to end on. Really good stuff, really funny. So yeah, I love this volume. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Really solid stuff. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll be back next week with Volume 4.